All right, today we're getting into reflections. We're going to start graphing reflections, and it is pretty easy because I bet you can already tell what these are going to look like. First off, we can do two things when we're graphing reflections. We can graph across the x-axis, which is a horizontal line, or we can graph across the y-axis, which is the vertical line. Okay, keep those in mind. You should already know those by now. You've seen them quite a few times this year and in previous years, but we'll use that when we're getting into these. So in example 1, the figure shows a triangle ABC. That's the black triangle right here. It tells us to graph the image of the triangle after a reflection across the x-axis. So as we said, that's the horizontal line. It's highlighted for you in yellow. So if I were to take this shape and reflect it across the x-axis, we would get the red shape, triangle ABC prime is what we call it. That prime is that little apostrophe that goes next to each letter, and that is important when we are doing these reflections. So we've already done this one for you, and notice how when we're doing a reflection, it looks like it's a mirror image. So if I were to place a literal mirror on this x-axis, what would my new shape look like across? It would look like this red shape here. Something else that you're going to notice is that whenever we're graphing across the x-axis, the coordinates change, but not all the coordinates. So let's look at point A, for example. Point A in the original image, the pre-image, is 1, 3. It's at coordinates 1, 3. Well, then let's look, where does it end up after we reflected? It ends up at 1, -3. So if I went from 1, 3 to 1, -3, what changed? Well, the x stayed exactly the same. The y changed and really just changed to flip the sign. Instead of being a +3, it's now a -3. And you're going to notice that that's the same with all of these examples. Whenever we're graphing across the x-axis, the y value changes. The x will stay the same, but the y will change. So then we're going to go on to look at example 3 right here. The figure shows triangle XYZ, and they're graphing across the y-axis, the vertical line. What do you think is going to happen this time? If we're graphing across the y-axis, the y values are going to stay the same and the x values will change. So let's look at an example of that. If I were to take point Z, in my original image, it was at -2, 3. -2, 3. Well, I said that if I'm graphing across the y-axis, my y should stay the same. That would be my 3, should stay the same. And my x value would flip its sign. So it should end up being at 2, 3. Let's see, did it end up going there? From z to z prime, it went 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Yep, it ended up at 2, 3, which is correct. That's what should have happened. So you'll notice when in all of these examples that we do, if you're graphing across the x-axis, the y value changes. And it's just flipping the sign. But you will do that for all 3 points. So if I were to give you an example, like, let's scroll down a bit and get a fresh example. In example 2, we have this quadrilateral. We no longer have triangles, but it's the same thing just with 4 points. So I had FGHJ, and then I can do each of the x values and y values, and I would flip them down across the x-axis. So if I had f is at -3, +5, so f is at -3, 5, where should it end up? Well, we know that like it says down here, when reflecting across the x-axis, the x-coordinate stays the same. So my -3 should stay the same. And my y-coordinate is multiplied by -1. That's what it means when we say flip the sign. We're really multiplying that coordinate by -1. So what's 5 times -1? -5. So my new f value, f prime, my point, should end up at -3, or I'm sorry, my new j value. Oh, no, it was the f value. I was incorrect in saying 3. Those should be 4s. So the regular f was at -4, 5, and it moved to -4, -5. Okay, that is correct. And I would do the same thing for each of my points, and I would then plot them on here. I recommend doing all 4 points first and then going in and drawing in your figure. And if it helps you, you can highlight which axis you're doing, you're reflecting across, just like they did in these examples. You're going to do a couple problems on your own now.